Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today is November 8th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:33 p.m. Can we call the roll, please?
Trustee Delzo?
Here.
Trustee Juarez? Here. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy is absent this evening. Trustee Navas-Barza? Here. Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start our reports this evening, out of respect for someone in the audience, and not even in the audience, representing our insurance carrier, Renee Farnell, is here tonight from Alliant Mesro. Hi, Renee. How are you? We did have on the agenda here under...
There's the other one on the other side.
What did I say?
It's not plugged in.
Oh, yeah. How about give me one second. Let me plug you in here, Renee. We record all of our meetings and stuff. Sorry, I didn't see that.
That was a hint for short comments.
I don't like insurance.
Yeah.
We should get a reduction because there's no trip hazard.
Darn it. Thanks for trying.
Darn it. Work with me here, Joyce.
Thank you.
Yeah, we record all these.
Okay.
All right. A little oversight. We didn't have our microphones turned on. So, again, I'd like to introduce Renee Farnell is here this evening from Alliant Mesro Insurance. And under letter G on your agendas tonight, Human Resource and Insurance. Trustee Murphy's not here this evening, but we have a committee member that would speak to what you have on your agenda. It's just a review of the proposed health care for the insurance. Okay. But just go ahead, Renee, please. Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. What you have in front of you is information on the health insurance renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield. As you're aware, your program is self-funded. So in short, this is a renewal offer to keep your exact same plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield. There are no plan design changes. So first page you're looking at is an overview. From a fixed cost standpoint, there's two components of your program. You have fixed costs with Blue Cross Blue Shield. You pay for insurance lines, you pay administration, and those you pay month in and month out. We are looking...
I'm sorry, Renee. Excuse me one second. I didn't get whatever you're speaking to there. Did everybody get something from Renee?
It's online here.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're deferring to our packet. Okay. Go ahead, Renee. Sorry about that.
From a fixed cost standpoint, we were looking at a significant increase on our insurance line. Essentially, we had a 170% loss ratio on our specific stop loss policy. Administratively, you're not looking at a change with Blue Cross Blue Shield, a considerable prescription drug rebate, an overall 45% increase was negotiated to a 27.1% increase on fixed. We secured a $100,000 credit for the village. This is from Blue Cross Blue Shield to partner with you in the increase you're seeing on the specific stop loss. But again, from a premium standpoint, for every dollar that you paid Blue Cross Blue Shield in premium, they spent $1.70 on claims that they had to reimburse on the policy this year. Underneath that, the main bulk of your insurance program is a claim expectation. So you're aware that you pay your claims as you go. Blue Cross Blue Shield will pay the claims. You pay Blue Cross Blue Shield back on behalf of the claims that they paid out. Blue Cross is calling for approximately a 9% change in those claims. They give you a projection for what to budget for next year. This is truly a projection, but they're very good with their projections. It's slightly higher than the trend increase that we've seen in the marketplace, and really the one piece of COVID that they're kind of thinking will impact employers this next year is not necessarily large claims from COVID, but members that bypassed their preventative care during COVID. It wasn't people that were sick, but they stopped going for preventative care. They're returning to preventative care, and the insurance industry is believing that we're going to see a little bit more diagnosis of cancers and things of that nature that were not diagnosed during COVID because preventative was skipped. So it will hit in a different program year, as well as might be a worse diagnosis because of the delayed diagnosis. So trend, which was about 6%, has been quoted at about 9%. When we look at your claims from the most recent 12 months compared to the prior, your claims have increased by 9%. That's also what the underwriter takes a look at. So again, the beauty of being your program with Blue Cross, you pay your claims as you go. So the projection is telling you what to budget for. If you come in under the projection, then you're not paying those dollars. But the dollars are there to help you build the conventional plan cost. So then we have to take a look at what your fixed costs will look like, the projection of claims, and then where you have your employees enrolled on your 2 PPO plans. Enrollment in the programs against our conventional rates today. And then we have to true it up to say, if we fund for the projected increase from Blue Cross Blue Shield, how will the rates need to change in order to bring in this funding? So there's an exhibit that shows you enrollment, the current conventional rates, and then proposed conventional rates, which are changing by 9.15%. The village will pay the majority of that rate. Employees will contribute, depending on if they do wellness incentives or not, contribute to these conventional rates. To give you a reminder of what happened last year, the plan was actually running in a better position, and so the projection was a 5.2% decrease in plan funding. And that was implemented, and those rates did fund your program. Right now we're sitting with about a $33,000. It's about a 1.4% surplus. So we were in a decreased position last year. Now we're just back moving into a trend increase. So we highly recommend that you consider these conventional rates. You, as a self-funded plan, could decide to budget for less. You can't do more. You can't just arbitrarily put something higher because you have to have backing for why you are creating rates that you represent out to employees and to people that go out on COBRA. I think there's concern over always making sure that we have a reserve, and that's just money to the side that we build up so that when we have plan increases, it can be less volatile. Obviously, if we budget for a 9% change and that doesn't come to fruition, the village will create a reserve. So that is really the majority of the medical. This is driven by a trend increase. If you keep on moving, there's a reconciliation, and I think what's really important, this is your actual plan costs that occurred during the course of this year, this policy year. We still have 3 months outstanding, but we take what actually happened in terms of what you paid in fixed, your total claims under the plan, that conventional funding that we recommended last year, which was a 5.2% decrease, and it just shows you how it has funded the plan. It will also illustrate for you that 1.4% surplus that the village has at this point. We're providing claim information in here so you have full transparency to look at the claims that the underwriter at Blue Cross sat down with, which shows about a 9% change in claims. That helps understand their projection for claims for the village to budget for claims increasing in the next time period. There's also an exhibit that talks about stop-loss premiums that you paid and how we're running at about 161% of a loss ratio there, which helps us to understand that renewal increase that we saw in the fixed specific stop loss. So in short, no changes to the plan, a budgeted 9.1% change, mainly driven by a projection of a 9% increase in claims in the next policy year.
Renee, could you remind everyone, please, what a stop loss is again, too?
Sure. So if you take a look, we have large claimant reports here, and $70,000 is your stop loss. So essentially what that means is, though the village agrees to pay their own claims, they're not going to pay them indefinitely. They purchase a line of insurance from Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's on every person on the plan. So each employee, spouse, and dependent child have a ceiling over their head of $70,000. And you agree to pay claims up to $70,000. When they exceed $70,000, Blue Cross takes over, and they pay the remainder of the claim indefinitely for the policy period. So once somebody hits $70,000, the rest is taken out of your experience, which is really important. So when we sit down and project for next year, it's not being held against you. And most importantly, you're not paying claims indefinitely. So if you have $1 million claimant, which we do see, you'll pay $70,000, and then an insurance policy is going to take over. But again, that insurance policy, you had 161% loss ratio on that. So to give you an idea, in premiums that you paid for the policy, I can flip this open. Year to date, we had claims over the stop loss of about $720,000. So that's what Blue Cross Blue Shield has paid out on your behalf, has removed from your invoice that comes in to the village. In stop loss premiums, you've paid $445,000. So it's 160% loss ratio on that, which that can happen some years. If you have large claimants, that's going to happen. They're not predictable. They don't come in even increments. And so it just gives you some insight as to why Blue Cross was looking to charge more in the premiums for the stop loss, because they charge you premiums for that each year, as well as they charge you administrative costs. They weren't changing their administrative costs, but they were increasing that specific stop loss premium. Any other questions on the medical?
Charles, what are you seeing anything that we should be addressing here as well, too? Anything out of the ordinary? No? Good. I know when I I do read all the, I was talking to Joyce earlier today, I do read all the checks when we're signing invoices every month. And I know last month, we were looking at the pharmacy, right, with the, and for the active employees, I think we were spending something like $86,000 in a single month on prescriptions. I think retirees were quite a bit less, or more like $29,000, something like that, yet too. But significant amounts of monies when it just even come to prescriptions.
I want to bring up some potentially a difficult thing to talk about, but we have a pretty Cadillac plan at a $500 deduct, $250. It's pretty sweet. And one of the things that Renee pointed out is, what incentive do the employees have to contain those costs when everything's paid for? And I understand what she's referring to. I mean, how many people shop their prescription drugs to get the best price? If the insurance is covering it, are you going to take that time? How vested is the employee in this health insurance to help to reduce those claims? That's our cost, is the claims. And how do we control that? Well, I've had multiple discussions with Charles about wellness programs and those kinds of things to get people to be more healthy and eat better and learn better habits, exercise, that kind of thing. That also helps to reduce claims, but it's also it's quite a benefit to have the plan that we have. And so I think that we have to have some hard conversations about potentially changing some of this, because it's an incredible cost. I did hear today that Biden has negotiated some drug prices. I don't know. But pharmacy costs are going to continue to rise, just as insulin costs did. Do we change some of our copays? Do we change some of those things in order to have the employee shoulder some more responsibility towards where can I get the better deal? We can't force them to do that at this point. So I'm just bringing that up to potentially have that conversation. I don't know that we change it today or that we change it for this year, but I think we need to start to have those conversations.
What's the percentage of our employees that are covered under CBA?
A lot.
Right. Isn't that where you start?
No, we don't have to negotiate that with them. The village has the sole discretion to set the capabilities of the health plans. Yeah.
It's a condition of employment, and I believe that
I read that, I believe, in one contract. I know that.
yeah.
I'll check that again, but deductible is one thing, but I think we have some latitude to change plans at the sole discretion of the village.
Would certainly be interested, Renee, if there's any incentive ideas, if your company can share that, that'd be great.
I mean, I think in general, just when we talk about health insurance, and it's not just your village, but just the challenge of health insurance in general, is consumers of it aren't given transparency, really, truly. You know, you go to fill something, and when you pay a copayment, you're not seeing full transparency. It's the one area we're not trained to shop. I'd walk into a Walgreens and shop things that are $20 and compare, but not necessarily with cost of medical or prescription. So it's not a conversation about your employees or a misuse of the plan, but it's just the concept when you sit back and think about it, that, and what we see as consultants is if you go to have an MRI, you could have it at a hospital and it could be 70% more than a freestanding facility, but it's very difficult to understand all of that. And people are very busy and it's complicated. It's complicated on purpose to make profit. So we had a conversation over just tools that Blue Cross Blue Shield has that can help you if you want to compare, and it's not just about cost, it's keeping the quality the same type of technology, but just having an understanding of how you consume where you can. Because when we have large claimants, you have this plan on intentionally so they can have the best course of care. But in things that are discretionary, even if we can move the line a little just to teach people and empower them with how to understand it, make it easy for them. But then another piece of it too is when the plan designs are so rich and they don't even represent a modern approach to considering things, sometimes you have to, like I'm on an HSA and it makes me consider the generic, rather than just filling the brand. It's just human nature where you look at it and say, if I'm going to pay for this, I want a full understanding of what I could purchase and what's coming out of my pocket. So when we see plans that haven't changed a lot over the course of the years and they haven't kept up with the cost of things, it's another piece where you're not, even though you're trying to do something good, you're not really giving them a plan design where they think about how to utilize the benefits. So there's ways to keep this modern, but to slowly make changes. And we do reports to talk about how many people actually satisfied their deductible. If you changed your deductible, maybe 30% of the population would feel that change, and the other 70% didn't even get to the deductible level yet, but you're still paying for a plan that is rich and maybe over-insuring a little bit. So there's just ways to look at it. It's hard decisions to make. But as we talked about, in September, $110,000 were spent just in that month on prescription drugs. The problem isn't the village, the problem is the world and all this profitability in it. It's crazy, it's out of control. Biden can say he's going to do what he's doing, but we are seeing it escalating. Your prescription drug trend was 12%. So that's just inflation. That's not sustainable to say this is going to inflate by 12%. So the way I look at it is we're all in it together. We have to be mindful of how we treat this plan, and I by no means would want to strip this plan, but I want to preserve it. And I want to make sure it's competitive and modern for you, but also has the right plan components to make sure when people are utilizing it, people that utilize it more are the ones that pay slightly more, rather than everyone paying for a very rich plan design. And also giving people a way and a reason to look at what they're spending when they use and they consume health insurance, because we're seeing that as an issue across the board with all employees. So within our presentation, we always look at plan design alternatives. We'll quote how it would impact the claims that will be paid out by the plan, and we give it in dollars because we do want to look at it. We don't want to cause disruption. So it's kind of like, is there something we can do? We can identify who it disrupts. We do try to disrupt the least amount of people. What kind of bang for your buck is it? If you're going to make a change, is it worthwhile? Are you winning a battle there, or are you going to upset your population and not really move your line on claims much? So we look at all of that. We put together a big phone book to kind of have an arsenal, really, that we can pull out at different times. And I agree, there might be pieces of this that we need union blessing, but the work's kind of all teed up so that when you want to sit down and talk with the unions, we can do that. And truly, I enjoy talking with unions because I want them to have transparency. This is complicated, and they come like this. And it's, so like my goal is to teach them about their plan and what's being spent and how can we do things to, again, protect that plan, think smartly about this plan, preserve the plan. And so, if there's ever a chance to sit down with unions, I'm happy to go through and just educate, because this money is coming out. This money is coming out of your bottom line, and it's coming out of their paychecks because they pay in that conventional rate. So, in short, we're looking at a 9% increase. Other employers might make slight changes to reduce that. So what's coming out of paychecks and what's coming out of the program isn't as much, and then people that are utilizing might be paying a slightly higher share towards the claim that's incurred. But again, from your plan design, we do benchmarking. It's a Cadillac plan. It's phenomenal. So I think there's room to move it and modernize it without taking it away.
That's fine. Well said, too. Again, it's kind of interesting, like you said. I know years ago, I think even before I was working here full-time, that I think I called Blue Cross for something or other, and they're like, why are you going to the hospital for that x-ray? You can go other places. And I ended up finding a great place, nearby, and it was a great service, and the maybe the scheduling wasn't as cumbersome there, too. There are great opportunities, and yes, we did in the last contracts about 3 years ago, we have allowed a committee comprised of, we've got 3 unions in our village, so we'll be scheduling something with you to meet with them to explain this as well, too, okay?
But the hard part is, you're not shopping for a cell phone here. So, in your example for x-rays, how many x-ray locations do you know personally?
A lot.
And what?
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm talking to the wrong guy.
All right, sorry. But I know what you're saying. No, they actually suggested, Blue Cross made some suggestions, and they're like, did you ever try this guy or that guy? I'm like, no. I can't
They
think
actually have tools now, because that's
Yeah.
great. I agree with you. It's like, how would you say this? How would someone go home after work and then shop for x-rays? I agree.
Well, it just many moons ago, I had back surgery. And so my doctor says, who do you want to do the surgery? I don't have people in my family who are doctors. My friends aren't doctors. So I'm at a loss. And to search on the internet, forget about it.
Agree.
You sit there and you buy a balloon at Amazon, and you got 25 things that are great and 25 things that are terrible. So, in back surgery, a little more important than buying that balloon.
Agree.
So, my question to the doctor was, you're going to have the surgery, who do you call? But to your point is that to get the prescriptions, my doctor gives me a prescription, and he marks it, do not substitute. He doesn't want generic. I get it filled, and because the plan says you're getting generic. Doctor's upset about it because that's the reason why he went to medical school, is to make those decisions. The insurance company alters what he does. And I'm pretty sure the people at the insurance company don't have MD after their name. Maybe some of them, but not most. So who do you believe? Who do you trust?
Agree.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say this. So a tool came about, which is newer, and then Biden's administration is doing more about this because, and even Trump's was, to have more transparency for plan members to kind of give them tools, legitimate tools that are easy to use. But when HSA plans came about, which you guys have one, and it's where in every instance a high deductible applies for every service, well, when members had to pay that high deductible, then all of a sudden they were like, I got to really shop this stuff. So the insurance carriers created tools. They're called Blue Value Advisor. You can go online right now and it will give you the criteria, and it's a very easy tool to use if you trust it, but it gives you what type of technology is being used, their ranking, and it gives you a cost comparison. So they created these tools for the HSAs. We try to advertise it to everyone to say, hey, use this. But again, if I just have a $250 deductible and then I'm covered at 100%, am I deciding to take that extra step to use a tool? So, but with Biden's administration, they are saying to all the carriers, you have to have total transparency and add even more services to do this, where you can go online and check it. And then in addition, Biden's administration also wants, when you have a procedure recommended to you, within like 24 to 48 hours, the provider has to contact your insurance carrier, get a predetermination of what it will cost. In like 24 to 48 hours, it has to get to you, so that up front, before you have anything done, you'll have no surprises in what the cost is to you. Logistically, it's kind of like everyone's hair is on fire because it's going to be so many predeterminations. But the government's trying to make steps to do that, to kind of help the member out. The insurance carriers have a lot of these tools. They're more driven around the consumer driven, where a member's like, I have a $5,000 deductible. Those are out there, a $6,000 deductible. And so it really matters if they pay $200 for a service or $400 or $1,000, because it all goes towards their deductible. But I agree, it's very complicated. And with surgeries and things of that nature, the way I look at it is, you guys have the large Blue Cross network, so you give them access at the best places. So we're not talking about jeopardizing even a surgery. It's just more, if it's the exact same MRI, but the markup is 50% more because of the physical location, how do we educate plan members that if you find that simply out, at your own decision and your discretion, you could cut a claim in half, which then impacts all of this, you know? So it's definitely a challenge. You can't make people use these things. Not everybody has the time to do these things or trust that. But it's hard also. Why would you think there'd be that cost disparity between the two? You know, so there's a lot wrong in the health insurance world that you guys as employers, us as consultants, and plan members have to deal with. And so we're just trying to kind of get the tools together that makes the most sense. And when we look at a plan where after around $250, everything's covered at 100%, are you giving the employees things to think about? And when you can have $1 million claims, is $250 the right share towards that? And I'm not talking moving it much more. It's just...
That's not accurate either. It's quite a bit more than that. I believe it's single plan is $1,000 right now.
But you guys are
We're
supplementing.
splitting that.
Yeah, it's around $500,
Right.
and then after that, it's about 100% coverage.
Right.
So $500, I'm sorry, $750 of the deductible is paid for by the village,
No, I think
and
it's,
that is the full.
Yeah.
you're right, $1,250, right.
But they are responsible for $5.
$5.
You pay the other $750.
Right.
And then after that, it's 100% coverage.
Right.
So, yeah, I apologize. It's $500. So just things to think about. And we're here, you know, to look at the claim numbers, look at creative solutions, look at how your contributions work. You guys do a nice piece where you have wellness incentive. So, you know, you're doing a lot of things right. It's just a matter of, you know, as Joyce said, kind of continuing to look at this and modernize and protect, and kind of empower the employees with tools, you know, to help mitigate some of these discretionary claims.
Very good. I'm just saying, you know, I guess obviously the purpose of my question was, you know, We see where the increases are at. And again, like I said, Renee, if you can share any ideas to incentivize folks to keep those costs down, we're all for it. Let's see what you have.
Great. And then dental is really downhill from here. Dental's like this little sliver. You're not having large claimants. We're so happy to deal in dental. It's about a 1.3% decrease. And then when we plug in your current conventional rates with your enrollment, we look at what we fund. And then to fund the bottom line of the renewal projection, it's about a 6.5% decrease in conventional rates. These are not big dollars. You know, it ranges between $2 a month, you know, $26 annually. But again, in dental, we follow the trends of the dental claims, and then adjust the program costs to make sure that we're funding. You guys just have had a slight decrease in the dental claims, so that merits the decrease when we plug in your enrollment and look at conventional rates. And then Benestar, which is a retiree, premium rates are included in here. We capture those for you. Life insurance, we're not looking at any change, no change in vision. So really, medical recommended change by approximately 9.1%. Dental, approximately a 6% decrease.
Trustees, any questions for Ms. Farnell? And certainly, Renee, this is it's just a one-year it's just a one-year renewal that we do as usual until.
And again, if you guys do come in under the 9%, what is nice is this isn't dollars that you're shipping out to Blue Cross. You're just building funding around it to represent what, you know, the underwriter projects for the cost, and if it comes in something under, it's not dollars that you have to spend. So I'm hoping for you're going to have under a 9% trend increase, but Blue Cross is very good at getting close in their projections, so I think you do a plan a disservice to not follow the projections that they provide.
That's fine. You got a couple of department heads here too. Guys, did you have any questions at all or anything like that too? No? Okay. That's fine. We appreciate the update then, Renee. And what you call it? When obviously we have to have this approved before the first of the year. When do you think you'll have that final number then too? The I'm sorry, for the renewal, when will we have that to approve? Contract.
We should be able to do that next week
Okay.
at the board meeting. I mean, this is the...
I understand. That's what I'm saying. We're going to be able to do it next week. Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. All right,
Because we have to start open enrollment,
Right.
so we have to have these prices in place before we start that open enrollment.
Understood. All right, we'll put this on the agenda then for approval next week. And Renee, thanks for coming out tonight, too, to break everything down. I know sometimes there's a lot of paper here and stuff, and like I say, in the simplest things, with the stop loss and so forth, just to remind folks, we are obviously paying the first $70,000 of any claim, which is why you have insurance and stuff then, too. And I'm glad that the claims aren't too over the top and stuff then, too. So it's always good news to hear then, too, at the same time. All right, well, thank you for being out tonight, Dan. Joyce, anything else you were going to say about it?
Perhaps for next year, what I'd like to do is sit down with Renee and Charles and come up with a plan to modernize our plan and what those steps might be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and kind of get a more of a head start on this before we get to this point. So next year, I would like to start to see what we need to do to get this more up to date.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go back to a regular agenda and start my report. I did give everyone something in their mailbox earlier, just based on last week's approval that we had for the new garbage contract for the next 5 years. What I'd like to do is ask the board, just very quickly, I'll explain what I handed everybody. The first page, there was 4 pages I gave everyone. The first page was the garbage contract that we received for starting back in 2017, and that's going to terminate this coming December 31st, 2021. And on the second page showed the indexed cost for the garbage collection. Now, that only reflects garbage only, and as you saw, next year was $20.01 is what we had approved in the ordinance. Moving forward with the new contract that we approved last week, along with the e-waste collection of $1.15 per month. When you, on the very last page, I highlighted that cost of $19.25 that they quoted us, plus $1.15 is $20.40 a month. And I just want to demonstrate it was a cost-neutral situation. Nobody's making, we're not overcharging anybody, the customers, the homeowners, anything like that. And the same thing followed suit for the next 5 years. And this increased, this was indexed just to meet the demand of what our costs are. And again, we're not demonstrating any kind of surplus or anything like that. Each one of these prices was what we were quoted for both garbage collection plus e-waste and the final number at the end. And I had Attorney Joe Kankar, I sent him all the information last week after this was approved, and I filled in the highlighted spots. This is just a draft that I'm showing the board, but I'm going to ask next week that we approve a new 5-year ordinance for garbage and e-waste collection based on what you're looking at here today. Did anybody have a question on it? In case maybe anybody got confused or anything like that? Okay. All right, very good. Next, I had requests to amend the building. We're not going to amend these yet, but what I handed everybody right before the meeting, this is just for discussion right now. I'm going to work with Roger Early, building commissioner, on this. He and I talked before the meeting this evening. We both have had a full plate lately, but he was working on some ideas as well as far as cost is concerned. And we haven't adjusted fees, building permit fees since when, Roger? 2005. And it's time that we need to take a look at that to stay competitive with other communities. And again, we always have to consider the cost of doing business here too as well too. You know, I mean, for whether it's employee compensations and whatnot over the last dozen years or so, we have to keep pace with what we're expending to have personnel on site. And what I'm recommending in here as well too is the first 2 pages. And again, I've looked at many other communities to make sure we're not going too much and we're charging enough, because ours were quite low. You know, the current, like, building inspection fee, for example, right now, Roger, $35 we charge per inspection, and we're going to go to $50 instead. And I've got some ideas I'm showing everybody here too, as far as residential building permits are concerned, new construction permits are concerned. A lot of it's all based on the value of the work that they're doing, including Dan Tribin. I'll get you a copy of this, Dan, but I was going to include residential and commercial tap-on fees as well too, you know, to make sure we stay competitive with that. Dan, does, just for a conversation here, a residential tap-on fee, somebody's building a new house and they have to tap into our water system, Is $6,000 seem reasonable to you to cover that cost?
That's excessive, because we don't do the taps. So if in other communities, if the community is doing the tap,
Okay.
that would be probably reasonable.
Okay.
But we would simply charge them a connection fee as opposed to actually performing the taps.
Okay.
So a private contractor is going to make that connection. We're simply going to inspect it and charge them the connection fee. Essentially, that's just, recovering a little bit of cost to provide, water to an additional service in the community.
Understood. Okay, so we're not capable of doing that kind of work just yet. I know we're fixing water main breaks now and stuff like that, which is all, I think that's fantastic.
Yep.
We're not doing any tap-ons yet and stuff like
Correct.
that. Okay.
We did in the past when, we would charge, we had a village tapper essentially, and basically we would get a quote for a connection depending on size.
Okay.
And we would recover those costs, and we would perform, have that work performed by a private company. But right now, we're just allowing private, services to be connected or tapped by the preferred contractor of the business or homeowner.
So Dan, and again, for the benefit of the public watching, Dan Traven is our water commissioner. So if we're not going to do this work and somebody else would be, Dan, what's a fair cost to do an inspection like that?
Our typical inspections are, same price as Rogers, inspections, but our connection fees are laid out in the current ordinance. For like a 6-inch fire line, connection is $600.
Okay. I'll go through that with you then, Dan.
Yep.
So we'll include all that, but we don't have to worry. We're not doing this kind of work right now.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, no problem.
Dan, do we have a list of preferred or restricted?
It basically just has to be a licensed plumbing contractor to perform any type of tap-on connections.
Because they're all going to have to register and get a license and a permit even to do the work, so.
Correct.
So we're going to qualify them anyway before they do that work, and possibly if they were to, are you suggesting if our line got damaged or anything like that?
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking if we let just anybody come in and tap into our water service.
It's still being funneled through the Dan's office or Roger's office, yes. They're building on water.
Correct. There's not, you typically don't see a contractor come in, and make an attempt to do a large tap. And like for the GC America contract, when they did their big addition, we actually did the same thing where we preferred to use our contractor because it was a complicated connection. So we got a quote for the work and recovered those costs on their permit fees.
Okay. And then going back to the building department, Roger, you and I will go through all these, but I had just more of a in-depth list of what the fees would be for, let's just say, for any example, demolition fees, concrete flat work, even a furnace or air conditioning fee. We actually currently do not have a residential charge rate. We're doing commercial, I think, though, Raj, right?
Commercial, but not on residential
Right.
at this time.
I think it's really important and to benefit the homeowners that we are inspecting furnaces and so forth. I mean, gas is everything, carbon dioxide and whatnot yet, too,
That is correct, because at that, you've got gas, electric, they're touching ventilation, everything. So you definitely want to have somebody go out and do that inspection.
I was in that field of work. I was sharing with the trustees before the meeting. I was in that field of work prior to doing what I do now and managing a company that did this. And certain suburbs, we got real specific criteria too. I mean, today's heating systems, for example, everybody now, you can't even find an 80% efficient furnace anymore. Your typical furnace with a chimney, everything now is high efficient, and it's being exhausted through the side of your house. And I've got a 97% efficient furnace in my home now. But I know some suburbs, I remember doing work like in Flossmoor, and they wouldn't even allow you to have white pipe hanging out of your house. It had to be painted the same color as the brick or siding on your house, because they don't want to see that. They want to make sure the job is done well. And there's a lot of criteria, too, to make sure you're 4 feet away from windows, you're not getting carbon dioxide coming back into your homes and all that. And there is a lot of oversight in something like that. Some towns even charge deposits. I think that's excessive. I think if we can honor with just pulling permits and having a...
It does keep people honest to come back and get their money.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying, I went to a couple of villages, I won't say who, I thought their deposits were pretty darn high. And they're hoping you forget to call back to get your money, but most people, they will remember that. But anyway, yeah, Raj, I put a lot of different things on here. Even a lawn sprinkler system, people don't always pull permits for that. They'll have a contractor come in, he's going in the ground, and God forbid, we've heard many times from you guys, especially with Public Works, they ran over something that shouldn't have, or they crushed a line of some type there, too. And so we'll go through this whole list, but certainly I wanted to offer this up to Trustee Peretta. Dave, we've been talking about this a little bit with taking a look at these, and it's been a long time coming. This isn't something that we do every year, and certainly we want to be fair to the residents and businesses here that do this kind of work then, too.
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll talk
be
more about
addressing
this at the next committee meeting, but I just want to get the ball rolling, just to kind of show everybody what we're kind of looking at here, that's all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. And the last thing I had was, I just talked to Mike Fritter about, we were going to try and find an alternative to Mr. Christmas Tree out there, because that frame needed some work and whatnot. And Mike, really, myself and Becky looked at ideas, everything from renting or leasing a tree. Unbelievable. It was almost $12,000 to lease a Christmas tree for the season, all the way up to $50,000 to buy one, but if we can rehab the one that we have and put a little TLC into it, we get Roger's guy, we put a beautiful pad in over at Veterans Plaza, and we'll do our best to make that happen and stuff, or I hope that you guys would. All right. And please, everybody, if you're available this coming Thursday, we are going to commemorate Veterans Day at Veterans Plaza. The rule always is at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we will be at Veterans Plaza to honor Veterans Day. So I asked everybody, certainly you guys can come on out, and I did invite the fire and police departments to join us as well, and everyone from the Post 450 VFW is coming out there as well Thursday morning. And I think they're going to have snacks or something like that back at their place after. So that's all I have for this evening. Clerk's report?
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the November 1st, 2021 board meeting minutes, the presentation of the October 2021 FOIA report, and the presentation of the September 2021 motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $66,649.32. And that is all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We don't have an attorney this evening or an engineer. Public forum, we didn't have anybody in the audience this evening. Next is standing committee reports, Finance and IT, Trustee McGlohorn.
As usual, I will have a list of payroll and accounts payable for approval, and Joyce wants to talk to us about OPEB trust setup.
So I want to start to bring this back to our minds. I know this was discussed with you, can't discuss this with you probably at length, and I want to start to establish this. We have a considerable amount of money sitting in a savings account in a market that's going crazy right now. And I would like to see us get this OPEB trust set up so that we can be making the most for our money. The Lauterbach report shows that our liabilities are at $71 million for OPEB. Now, they did not take into consideration that we have $16 to $20 million sitting there in a savings account because it is not irrevocable. We can technically, we could use that money for anything we wanted. But we've decided to reserve that because we've set aside money for OPEB. And we need to get that invested. We need to get it working for us. We need to start to reduce these liabilities. So I just wanted to bring this back to the forefront. I want to put a project plan together. I want to start to put this OPEB trust in place so that we can get this executing for us. It's not working for us right now. So Does anyone have any specific requests, requirements, or questions at this point in time?
I think we did say we need a committee for this, too. Did we say that?
Do we need a committee
Yes.
for this?
Well, there need to be trustees or something.
Well, this is where we have to make decisions about who the board members are going to be. Is there going to be 2 board members from our board that will be on that board? Will there be a number of retirees that will be on that board? Are we going, I assume we're going to be using an investment advisor.
Sure.
Would assume that. Those kinds of decisions are part of this project plan, and we're going to be stepping through that. We have to make a certain filing with the IRS, not that we absolutely have to, because we're going to be doing a particular type of trust, a 115C, that we can, it's an irrevocable trust, so once we hand the money over, it's not ours anymore. And once we can get those things put into place, we can start moving forward. Who's going to be the trust administrator? Who's going to be the custodian? How are we going to pay benefits? You know, are we going to continue to pay the benefits? Is the trust going to reimburse us for that? Is the trust actually going to pay the benefits? How's that all going to work? So we need to make some decisions along the way about how this is going to actually execute, because we certainly don't want any interruption to come to the retirees, but we want to make sure that we're making the most bang for our buck on the money that we have.
I'll just speak for myself. This is a little bit new to me with this particular type of trust, but I understand all the players that should be involved to be representing, so that all have a voice in how this gets done.
We get to define that, yes.
Right. So obviously, I think for the benefit of the board, I think we're going to have to just, obviously, like as you're suggesting, let's draft a frame, a template.
Step-by-step process.
Yep, that we're going to have to get this, that, and the other prepared. And as you said, there's no point in having that money just collect small interest. Let's go for, you know, if we have a serious investment broker that can help us with this, let's see if these gains reduce that $71 million liability.
Which we're probably, I mean, that's a service, a professional service, so I think that we still want to have a number of people to talk to get the best, and what we feel the most comfortable with investing that money for us.
Sure.
don't have any action today. I just want to start to put it on the plate so that we can start to move forward with this, because it's going to take a while. It's going to take months to put this together.
Okay, Trish, I'd like to really try and bring this up every committee if we could to keep it moving then, too.
When was the date that we brought this up before?
2015?
Right.
Yeah.
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 So we were told back then it was going to be a while.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever envisioned, because we kept on asking when. So
I think Trustee Zelinski brought it up at once a quarter at a minimum, where we at on the trust.
Yeah.
It's
So-
time to get it done.
Yeah.
It's time to do it.
I mean, isn't there other municipalities around us that we can kind of look around for a model
Oh, yeah.
to find out what works good, what maybe could have worked better?
Sure. I mean, it's pretty standard. A 115 is pretty defined by statute.
Right.
So, and we have to follow certain GASB requirements and GAP requirements and so forth in order to get this done. So it's not like we don't have a blank page that we can just paint a picture. We have to be able to fill some positions, create the board, bylaws, those kinds of things, because it's going to be an entity that runs on its own. It's not going to be, technically it doesn't have to report back to the board, but it would be a nice thing to put in the bylaws that, twice a year they come tell us what they got. It'd be good. Having 2 board members on there is also helpful because it kind of keeps us in the loop. But I certainly can, absolutely reach out. I worked with an insurance trust, not an OPEB trust, which is very, very, very similar to how this works.
So when can we expect this?
When can we, I hope before April 30th.
Okay.
That's my goal. Got to get some things in place.
In some of the research I've done for the last year or two, too, there's not really a ton of OPEB trust going on. I mean, they're out there, but there's not that many.
Not that many OPEB trusts.
Right.
There's a lot of insurance trusts.
Exactly, but, when you look at, even in the Illinois area, I saw one in Plano, Illinois, I saw one here, I saw one there, but there's not a lot going on, like, in this vicinity, rather, right around here, so.
Listen, that's one of the things that Kent always said from the very beginning, was that he, at that point in time especially, he didn't have anybody to model after, because nobody else had one.
Right. So, yeah, this is, and I appreciate what Trustee Alzell is saying. This is a long time coming. Joyce, that's great. If we're going to have a target date to get this done before May 1. Okay.
That's the goal.
All right.
But if other municipalities aren't having it,
What are they having?
What are they
right,
doing?
and is what they're having a better idea than OPEB? So is an insurance trust the better than an OPEB?
The problem that you face without having the trust is that it's not considered in your GASB liabilities. So that can affect your credit rating, that can affect a lot of things. So that's why you have to consider the way the cost
I mean,
of,
I've argued for many a year, because I remember this being a footnote in the annual audit.
oh, it's every year.
Right.
Every year they say it.
Yeah. So,
Because they cannot take into consideration the money we've put aside.
right.
Because it's not irrevocable. So that's the objective, is to get that done. And that will lower our liabilities. It makes us look better financially to the outside world. In the event we do get more bonds, in the event we do some kind of capital financing or whatever, they take that into consideration.
We've taken considerable steps to fund the OPEB in order to reduce our liabilities.
Correct.
And quit kicking the can down the road.
We are.
So it'd be nice to be able to sit there and get credit for
Yes.
those actions
Yes. And actually reap the benefits of that.
Right.
Yes, I agree.
by investments.
Thank you.
And I know I'm a creature of habit, but again, for the benefit of the public, an OPEB is OPEB. It's other post-employment benefits. And a GASB is the general, accounting standards? Is that what it was? I forget what the B is, though.
Governmental Accounting
Thank
Standards
you.
Board.
Yes,
Board,
thank you.
Governmental Accounting Standards Board, right. And again, as part of being accredited with them, we need to impose this.
Well, in order to account for that money
Right.
in our financials, we have to have certain things in place, and GASB requires us to do that. OPEB is basically our retiree health care and our health insurance for our retirees, and what we've promised our retirees, whether they're firemen, policemen, or regular workers, it makes no difference. So,
As you said,
But not their pension.
Not their
this is not
pension.
pension, but these are retirement obligations that we are liable for, and we're taking responsibility for that liability.
correct.
Right. Okay, thanks, Joyce. Trustee McLaurin, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. And then we'll go to the Fire Committee report. Committee?
No report.
No report. I will say that things are moving along pretty well with the surface replacement, like blacktop and concrete and whatnot. Roger, I know last week I saw him pouring concrete at the firehouses. They did the front of firehouse too, right?
Yes, the front is all concrete.
Okay. When are they doing the back? Next week after that hardens?
I don't have a schedule on that at this point.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I should be asking Mike. Mike, you're our point guy. Thank you.
They're hoping that this week.
This week, yeah, because I know the concrete had to stand 7 days before we can even put a truck on it or something like that then too, right? Okay. But anyway, that's all at the firehouses right now, is we got that part of it done. Police and traffic safety, Trustee Dalzell.
We'll have the presentation of the October 2021 Police Department Monthly Activity Report. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Next, public work and boat launch, Trustee Juarez.
Presentation of the October 2021 Public Works Department Monthly Activity Report. That's all, Mayor.
Again, Mike Frater, what we were talking about the other day out at the boat launch, are we expecting trees and dirt coming pretty soon?
So they actually, the last few days have delivered 670 square yards of black dirt. about 50 truckloads of biosolids, and 30 truckloads of compost.
That's great.
So we're currently now out there spreading and mixing the three materials together. They're hoping to have Green Corps come in next week to begin planting.
How many trees again, Mike?
Approximately 200 trees.
200 trees are going
And
to
then
plant.
native plants and grass and stuff like that will be
Okay.
planted as well.
Do we have like designated like sidewalks yet, or do we do that later? I mean, are we going to have any kind of walkway?
It's
Not
gonna
just
be,
have grass, but
It's just paths.
Wood
isn't it?
chip path.
wood chips. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to be ADA in there or anything like that, because that, I don't know.
I had asked about it, and they said that that actually is ADA compliant, the chip paths.
Really? Okay. All right, as long as we got some paperwork on it, I just don't want to find out later and stuff then too, so, no, that's great, Mike.
Because it's a natural
Habitat type
park
of
or
thing,
setting,
yeah.
as you will.
Green
yeah.
space. Who's doing the spreading, us or our contractor?
Public Works is doing the spreading and the mixing.
You got your front end loader out there and all that stuff?
Front end loader and backhoe and
Okay,
skid steer, so we're busy with that this week.
good. You guys getting a lot of training on that and stuff
Yeah.
then too, working out, and
Yeah, absolutely.
good weather for it too, Mike.
Yeah, fingers crossed it stays dry the rest of the week, so.
Okay.
I know we're calling for some rain Thursday, so we're hoping to be done with the majority of it before Thursday.
Sounds good.
And then contractors started today for sidewalk removal, for the sidewalk removal replacement program. So again, we're looking at about 320 squares that we're looking to replace. These are squares that pose a great risk of somebody tripping, so we're trying to eliminate those first.
All right. That's fine. Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Sewer and Water, Trustee Navas-Barza.
Thank you. I have the presentation of the October 2021 Sewer and Water Department Monthly Activity Report, and I also just have an update in regards to the Click-to-Gov portal. I believe there was a glitch in regards to being able to add payment options in your My Wallet feature in order to pay your water bill, but I believe that issue has been resolved, and if it also is depending on which browser you choose to access the portal, and I think Chrome was the one that was giving the issue. I'm not sure if the Commissioner also wanted to add.
That's all I was just going to add, just to make sure, we have forwarded that issue, specifying that, the people that are having the problem, it's when they're using a Chrome browser. Somebody using Edge doesn't seem to have, that issue with accessing their wallet to, add a credit card or an ACH, their banking information. So that's what we're recommending to our customers, is that if they're using Chrome, try another one until we get the issue resolved through Central Square.
Okay, yeah, and it was really easy for myself to set up my account as a new user. And it was just the only glitch was the actually making a payment, because I couldn't add my wallet or update my wallet information. So hopefully they can use another browser.
Certainly.
Dan, I heard through the clerk's office too, wasn't there something where you had to flip, if you're doing it on your phone, you had to go horizontal? Because you weren't seeing the whole screen, and that's where people were struggling. When you got your phone vertical, you're not seeing the end of the...
Account numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's two, the account number is made up of two separate numbers, and they're only seeing the first box when they're looking at their, phone in the portrait mode. So when you turn it sideways, you can see the second box, or scroll over if you knew to look for it.
Right.
But
Okay.
it just, it doesn't automatically size on phones as easily, so.
Dan, while you're up here too, can you tell us how's water main replacement going?
Doing really well. The directional driller has gotten 4,400 feet of the 7,000 feet of water main already in the ground.
Wow.
So, they've only been out there for 2 weeks, so they're moving along pretty well. Right now, we're making connections so we can do some pressure testing on, that 4,400 feet. Once we get that up and running, then we'll start switching customers over to that new main.
I saw them staging all that pipe out by your pump station, a ton of pipe that they're putting in the ground. And I saw them digging and drilling, going through the yard right next to the ball fields. Is that a capture right there too?
We are going to be doing some work up to 118th Street on Carlisle Avenue.
Okay.
So
I saw them at 117th, right in that open field.
Oh, that's just their staging area. They're, dumping and,
Oh, I thought I
using
saw them
their-
going through there, too. I thought I saw them going
That's
down.
just for their spoils,
Okay,
so that they have a place to transfer, their spoils out of town.
okay,
But yeah, they're moving along really well, so
okay.
no issues.
Sounds good, Danny. Thanks. Next, we have the Building and Health, Trustee Peretta.
Thank you, Mayor. I will have a presentation of the October 2021 Building Department Monthly Activity Report. Next, I will have a presentation of the October 2021 Health Department Monthly Activity Report. And item number 3 probably should have been under ordinance and legislation, but I'll go over it anyway. It's discussion of amending the garbage corral ordinance. Basically, that ordinance basically says that, or will say, containers to be enclosed with a minimum of 3 sides and 6 feet tall, solid fence such as brick, block, wood, or PVC, shall be built to separate residential property from commercial, industrial, and multifamily units. This is to include 3 units and above, all refuge enclosures, and specific sizing of containers to have approval of the building commissioner, approval from the building commissioner, and permit to be obtained prior to the start of construction. So this ordinance was last revised back in 1983. Back then, it was very vague, and currently, our village attorney is working on it and says that it should be available, all the verbiage and everything should be available to us by November 15th. And basically, that's all I have at this time, Mayor.
So he sent, Attorney Mike Hankar sent us a note today, Raj, to you and I, Roger, and he just wanted to confirm, and I know I gave, Trustee Peretta and I worked on that language he just read, but I always call him Trustee, but Mike Hankar wanted to just confirm how many units do we want to impose this on, and he goes 2 flats or what? Did you answer him back?
I did answer him 3 flats and above.
3 flats and above. So right now, a 3 flat would have at least like a 2-yard container?
Correct.
Okay, because I wanted to just double check. I don't want to get in front of you. You had more knowledge of it than I did. I haven't seen too many 2 flats that have big containers like that and stuff. So it is a 3 flat and above.
Correct.
And Mike knows that.
Yes, he does.
Very good. Okay. And as Trustee Peretta said, we went with a template that we took off a couple of different scavenger companies through Republic, Waste Management, and so forth. They all recommended a 2-foot buffer around the cans. And finally, wherever the placement of this goes is going to be approved by your office, whether it's you or your designate, to approve where those things go and stuff then, too. And we did say 15 feet away from the house and all that kind of thing then, too. So it is what it is, but it's in the interest of the safety of the community. And I'm telling you, the one can that drives me absolutely nuts is when I go down 123rd Street, that one at 3819 or whatever it is, just west of Heritage.
Right by the sidewalk.
Oh, my gosh, there's always
Right
garbage
into the street.
flowing out of
Yeah.
it. I've stopped myself, you know how many times I've stopped and people are like, hey, man, what are you doing? It look like I'm picking up the garbage over here and putting it back in the can, because they got the cans right next to the street. I absolutely hate that, and I did want this guy to move to the back of the yard, but I want some criteria, and I want you to be able to tell him where to put it and stuff, though, too, so, okay. Thank you, Trustee Peretta. Anything else?
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. We already did human resource. Trustee Murphy's not here. Did the committee wish to add anything else? No? Special committee reports, economic development, Trustee Nava-Esparza.
Thank you. I've just wanted to know in regards to updates that we would receive from Nexite, since the Village of Alsip entered into agreement for consulting services with them. And-
Actually, I just got something back from them, because I brought them up at our last meeting. He's going to give us an update. They're going to be represented at the deal-making show coming up with the ICSC, the International Shopping Center Conventions and whatnot then, too. But I'll have some at the next meeting for you, too. I just shared a note with Charles Branch on that.
Okay, like if they're going to provide like a market analysis in regards to where they're targeting their marketing efforts in regards to business attraction.
Yeah, I sent them a couple notes actually too, just to remind them about two biggies that we have in town here too that are really great. I mean, we have a lot of great spaces that need to be built, but certainly I feel terrible about the Chateau Boucher property. That's a big one, to see if he has anybody in mind for something like that yet, too. Sometimes you might get lucky with a turnkey type of thing yet, too. Not necessarily dining and that kind of thing, but you never know if somebody else might be in that market yet, too.
And also just also updates from those that we also recently entered into, I guess, agreements when we had the RFP, like with Firewater and so forth. Just regular updates. To see where they are along in the process, and also with TBK as well. Residents asking me, where are we at that, and so forth like that. So it'd be nice to give them a more clear
TBK
picture.
was supposed to have, they wanted to have their footings in the ground like right now.
Looking to have footings in the ground before wintertime.
Yeah. So they're right now they're planning their foundation work, and I just exchanged a note with Spiro, the contractor from Firewater. And what happened with them? They got slowed down with county permits? Is that what happened?
Waiting for permits. They did receive them, so I would expect that to move along quite well.
Because we spoke with the county too, and they did say it was in the works and they weren't approved at the time and stuff then too. So yeah, just a little bureaucracy that got in the way of something like that. But they actually got ahead of schedule, and the county told them, hold on, you need a permit for all this and stuff then too. So we can appreciate the aggressive nature, but they got to do things in sequence and stuff then too. And they did. He's got a rental fence place, and I'm glad he got him out there Saturday, because that took a few days. I know he told me he was out there trying to, and that's just too much fence for one or two people to stand up. They had to send a whole team out there to stand that fence back up, yeah. So, yeah, no, as I get stuff, I'll certainly share it with everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Village Properties, Trustee McGlohorn.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. I know, very quickly again, as far as blacktop goes, Mike, I saw them prepping today, or they had a big crew of guys working outside here today.
Yeah, they're expected to start patching, put down some asphalt tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow, Wednesday? All right. And Roger, great job. I saw the landscaper trim the bushes out in front here. That looked very nice, how he did that and stuff. I told Trustee Navasparza we were certainly want to make sure we made the provisions for a safe exchange area, and I had Brian Massari identify a spot that his cameras can see and all that kind of thing. So Mike and you know about it. We're going to stripe it blue, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. And put up signage there and stuff? Or green, Roger said, yeah, Roger said maybe green stripes. So just so, IT said this is the best spot where we can have it in a sight vision there too. And because that's going to get striped really quick once that gets done. And if folks had noticed out in the main section where we had all those islands out where the police cars used to be, those are all gone. And I think we're doing angled parking now is what we're going to go to, aren't we, according to what I saw in the drawing? It's not squared.
That's what we discussed.
Okay. So it'll be directional parking is what that's going to be then, too. So it might buy us more space, too. We'll see what happens. But it's going to give a whole different look once that's done back there, that's for sure. Okay. Ordinance legislation, Trustee Peretta?
Already had a discussion on the garbage corral, and that's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Planning and zoning and licenses, Trustee Juarez?
I have a presentation of a list of license dated October 25th, 2021 through November 5th, 2021. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications?
I do, Mayor. I just wanted to bring to the board's attention and just more so of modernizing our, kind of what our guest was talking about, modernizing an insurance plan, but modernizing some of our ordinances. And one of them is in regards to business licensing tied to home-based businesses. Now that we've entered into an era of a lot of technology-based interaction, and it allows some people to also have home-based businesses that are tied to professional services that don't require, a large physical space. But per our current ordinance, which I can also share to the board and can bring this up for further discussion at our next committee meeting, is currently, per our ordinance, only one home-based business can be tied to a residential address, if I'm not mistaken. And I would suggest perhaps amending that ordinance to reflect now that you do have two breadwinners in a household that might themselves want to have a home-based business that, again, is more tied in regards to consulting and professional services, and perhaps amending that to allow for at least two per residential. And with the home-based business, again, it's just professional services. There couldn't be like storage of materials, like, construction and so forth like that. And I did consult with our building commissioner and also with Mayor Ryan in regards to this, so I just also wanted to bring it for discussion here, and we can also discuss it further at the next committee meeting.
No, I agree with you. Like you said, I talked with the trustee, Roger, you did as well. Things have changed. You do see more and more home-based business. Everybody's working remote right now and so forth, so a lot of contract work, let's put it that way. But if we can incorporate, just shooting from the hip, if we can incorporate some, as I told the trustee Nava-Esparza, so that people don't get acclimated to having, before you know you got construction equipment in their driveway or anything like that, that if they can be somewhat regulated. Roger, do you see any problems of any type, anything that we might need to look at with that?
As long as it's for office use only, I don't see any issues with it. What I would tie to that is also the pricing of the, so the
license,
increasing all the licensing fees, because we are quite low, and that's something that I started to look at but went to the wayside. So that is something that I would tie together with that one. If we're going to change the ordinance and have the attorney look at it, I would definitely do it all at once.
I can appreciate the honesty of what Trustee Nava-Esparza is bringing up as well, too, because I don't know if everybody saw that during the week, last week, of that whole debacle in another suburb near here, that they had over 1,700 PPP loans that went out, and the village only showed 310 licenses. It's like, well, where's those other 1,400 people, those other businesses? So if they were in a home, they weren't sharing that with the village, and that kind of thing, too. And again, it's not necessarily totally on the village where the federal government was making this action and stuff yet, too, but now they're trying to correct all this. I immediately went online and look at ours and who got PPPs and Alsip, and I can say 100% those folks are all good. I know where all those businesses are at and everything, too, so.
Well, we've had a home occupation in the business license for a long time, and it was segmented to allow professional or what didn't provide for, a car mechanic.
Right.
And years ago, I know I looked trying to get the foreign and domestic registry from the Secretary of State, so we could run that against our business license and find out those that are registered to the village, but yet had not secured either a business license or home occupation.
Right.
Secretary of State didn't want to share that file.
Oh, really? They didn't really look at it, huh? Okay.
I mean, I think more you can do it online now, but that registry that they had before would have been nice to get electronically.
Right. And as the trustee pointed out, too, there's multiple, sometimes you might have more than one person working from the house. You might need two small business, S corps, whatever, that kind of thing, working from the house and stuff, too, so. Well, thank you. No,
I can share the ordinance, and then that way it can be reviewed by
Okay.
the board, and I can present it.
Okay, thanks. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Then can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Then we'll adjourn this meeting at 8:50 p.m. And again, thanks for everybody's help this evening. Have a great night.